So all of our clients go through our signature talk workshop first, and we teach them how to sell from stage. Now, again, depending on the stage and depending on the speaker, my suggestion always is to not sell from stage. And there's exceptions, but in general, especially in a podcast or a virtual opportunity or in a community that they really don't know you, I always say lead collect, basically give a free gift and have people take on the opportunity, and then get on the phone and call those people and then sell one-on-one on consultations. It really depends, again, on the speaker, how seasoned they are. I would never ask someone who has never sold from stage to sell from stage, because you're now asking them to do two things that they've never done consistently. They've never spoken consistently, and they've never sold from stage. And so that is a recipe for disaster. So I would say, let's get on stages and serve your audience, give them value, and offer something for free that will allow them to go deeper in getting to know you. And the conversion there is much higher, which means if you have 100 people in the room, you'll likely get, if it's a good free something, you get 80 or 90 people to say, yeah, sure, I'll take your free gift. Now you have 90 people to build a relationship with, who eventually, not everybody, but the right ones will become your clients. And you can, and you're buying time to build the trust, to build the relationship, to turn those leads into clients. Dolores Hirschmann, and I'm the director of 10X Stages. We were 4 siblings and growing. So by the time I was 23, we were 6 siblings, merged family. So stepmother, father, and my brother and half siblings. So I was in the older side. So I always was in charge of little kids, and it's chaotic and it's insightful at the same time. My father was always traveling. I grew up in Argentina. Let me say that. That's where my accent is from. And if you think of the world map, and Argentina is like at the bottom triangle to the right side, right before you hit Antarctica. So it's like the bottom south of the world. On the right side, if you're looking down. And so it's pretty far, especially when I was growing up, I'm 50, so in the 70s and 80s, far away from the bigger world. It wasn't such a connected world, but my father traveled a lot. So the conversation at the dinner table was, it had to do a lot about what he found in his travels, what he brought to us. He would travel to China and bring us Chinese toys or Chinese candy. So it was unique comparing with my classmates, girlfriends at school, because most families or most parents didn't travel that far. So I was always exposed to a bigger world.
That's cool. And I have to ask, being that far south, I picture Argentina, tropical, nice and warm. Was it that way there, or is it
no,
not?
It's far south. So the equator is in the middle. So Argentina is a very long country. I am the capital, which is Buenos Aires. So Buenos Aires, the weather there, think of it as Washington, D.C. Humid and hot in the summer, cold and humid in the winter. Not that cold, but it feels very cold. And it goes all the way to the tipping point, which is Tierra del Fuego in Ushuaia. And Ushuaia is the closest point you can get on the continent to Antarctica.
Wow.
So it's like going to Alaska.
Yeah. Interesting. So
it's very narrow compared to the US, but probably longer than US. So we have a higher variety of weather. From Alaska to almost Brazil weather. Wow.
Caribbean, that's crazy. Weather. Yeah. Your father, who traveled around, I mean, obviously, that was pretty entrepreneurial, even if he wasn't an entrepreneur, but I mean, just kind of going out and hitting the world. Would you say that
frontiers?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, would you say that that's where you got inspiration from for the entrepreneurial side of things? Would you say?
So yes, and yeah. My mother, I didn't live full time with my mother, but I had a great relationship with her. She also later on has been an entrepreneur all her life, not when I was very young, but later as a travel agent.
Ah.
So I think they were both, my father for sure has been a visionary, and my mother has been a great entrepreneurial doer. And so I got both from them. And as far as the dinner conversations and my father, I think, yes, I was always, and he and I always engaged in conversation of what's coming, what's the future. I was actually, you'll find this interesting. So I was telling this to my friend the other day. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, so I'm 50. So when I was in my 20s, I remember clearly where I was sitting when my father said, the future is in content. Money will be in content producers. This is 25 years ago. Where are we now? Netflix, Prime,
Yep.
Books, experts. What are we all doing? What are we doing right in this moment, man?
Yeah.
We are producing content, and maybe it's not a linear cash path, but it's definitely a tool for growing your business or profitability. So that's how I grew up. So that's how I think. I have a hard time thinking of right now, to the point, and if you allow me, I'll tell a quick story.
Sure.
So I'm in New York City right now because my best friend from third grade came up last week to celebrate with me and my family my 50th birthday. And so she came from Argentina, so you want to do the city. Mm-hmm. And so we came to the city, and I'm working during the day and we went to theater last night. And we would sit and dinner and plan our week, or every moment we were just chatting. I would say, okay, well, tomorrow we can do this, and next week we could do. And then one day she looked at me, she said, Dolores, are you always thinking of tomorrow? And because she was just curious, and I'm like, yeah, and it's a gift and a curse. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes I can't enjoy it right now.
That's what I was just going to say. Do you feel like that? And was that what she was implying, that, let's just enjoy the moment right now? And do you have a hard time doing that?
She was just curious. I think she was just, and it was just an observation. I mean, I can enjoy the moments. It doesn't stop me, but I'm always in futuristic design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm kind of the same way. I do the exact same thing. You're always, everyone looks and says, that you've accomplished so much. I'm like, I really don't feel like I've done anything yet, right? There's
I haven't
so much more.
What I have
like I got to do this, and this, right? That's all coming up. So yeah, no, I feel the exact same way. So what led you to, creating the agency to help people get on stages?
Yeah. So, I mean, as I was saying, I'm the director of 10X Stages, and how this journey came about is, I am an entrepreneur like many of your listeners, and I have known all along that stages is the way to grow my business. I didn't just know it. The one chance, by chance, that I was getting on stage randomly, I would get clients or even podcasts. And so in 2017, and this way before COVID, I said, I was sitting at my desk on a Monday saying, okay, what do I do this week to get clients? And there were many Mondays like that. And every Monday was the same question with a slightly different answer, which, if you're a marketer, if you change strategies every Monday, you will never have a winning strategy. You never give anything a chance to grow. And so it was this kind of like throwing spaghetti to the wall feeling of, okay, I'll just do Facebook ads, or I'll just do more newsletters, or whatever. And so finally I sat down and said, okay, what of all the things I've ever done, what has given me consistency in a goal, which is getting clients? Mm-hmm. And I couldn't say, so stages was the answer. And if I thought of, okay, Facebook ads, it's been a hit or miss, even back then. Social media, hit or miss, like I need it to exist, but am I actually getting clients every time I post? No. And so when I realized that, I said, okay, so what would it look like to put all my eggs in this basket? Meaning all of my efforts in getting on stages, stop all the other initiatives, And that's when this process began. And I started researching, I started talking to people. There was a woman I found that had created some kind of a linear process of consistency. And the truth is that there's a method of doing this, but like any method, it doesn't work if you don't apply it consistently. Like it's like, there's a great program, but it has to be done consistently. And there's one thing I know about myself is I'm a quick starter. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an idea person. Consistency is hard for me. It's really, really hard. So I also had that insight and that honest reflection. And I said, I know what I have to do and I can do it this week, but the chances that I will do it again next week is really low. So how can I make this consistent? And so that's when I hired a team member that was only dedicated to this task. So I trained her. And I trained her in what I wanted, in how to go about researching stages, how to go about approaching stages. There's a language you have to use. And so that's what I built for myself. That I wanted to solve my own problem, which usually is the best way to solve other people's problem. But.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you went off, I mean, there's so many paths, right? I feel like, personally, I feel like there's not enough stages to really go after, right? Like you see these big events and then you feel like I'm not big enough or I'm not good enough to be able to get onto one of those stages. Yeah, I'm not ready. Yes. So how do you go about starting that, that journey, to build up your confidence, build up your, like, I kind of picture, I've always heard how comedians will practice their bits, on smaller stages. And then once they get to a big platform, they know what works and what doesn't work. It's already been, tried and tested in that. So kind of the same thing here, getting onto this circuit, the smaller circuit, if you will, I guess, to practice and then, grow your way onto those larger stages. And then by the time you get there, you already know what works, right? Is that kind of how it works? Or
it is. And so that is, there's the idea of being a speaker and then there's the reality of being a speaker. And I always mention there was a series that I watched a couple of years ago, Madame Walker, who was one of the first African-American entrepreneurs, built an empire on her hair products. And if you watch the series, and it may already still be in Netflix, I'm not sure, but she starts selling her products on a soapbox in a crowded market.
Wow.
So what is a speaker? A speaker is someone on a soapbox in a room with people or a crowded market. I mean, she was being a speaker, not on a theater, nothing fancy. Nobody was bringing her, cocktails in the green room. The idea of a speaker with an entourage and the perfect setting is just an idea. That speaker exists, but is almost like one phase of the speaker journey. And so what is a speaker? A speaker is someone that steps into a space, and I'm being broad because in 2022, a space is a room, a theater, a conference room, a podcast, a Facebook Live, an Instagram Live. Like I don't have enough hands to describe, if you're willing to think creatively, what a space means. And so a speaker is someone that steps into a space that does, what did the Bible says is, if two or more people are gathered, there's a group or something, like, in a room with two or more people, which means a group of people who listen. That's it. If you and I can agree on that is a stage, then there's infinite amount of stages. And also you can even create it. I can say, hey, Matt, why don't we go live on your Facebook and have a conversation? I just created a stage that didn't exist a minute ago. So there's infinite stages and infinite stages you can create.
Yeah, no, I guess that's a really, really good point. I never really considered, all the various platforms that we have today, as your own stage, right? And you're obviously developing that relationship with all of them as well. So, and I was even picturing, when you were talking about the soapbox and having the nerve to put that soapbox in the middle of a mall or whatever and start going into your pitch, which there's no better way to get over your phobias than actually diving right into that phobia. But I mean, again, you're absolutely right. I mean, just having the ability to be able to turn on your phone and go live, I guess that's the exact same thing, right? It might not feel the same way because you don't have all of these people immediately staring at you, but you have to understand that they are staring at you, just a different platform. So yeah.
Yeah. And so how does someone begin? You just grab this and be creative.
Mhm.
And how does someone begin to gain traction? I mean, to practice, just do that. How do you begin to gain traction? Because as a speaker, chances are you don't have access to an audience or your own audience. If you have an audience, it means you've been speaking for a while.
Yeah.
So you can skip that step because if you have some 20,000 followers, chances are you've done a live or two. Now, how do you begin gaining traction or expanding beyond the circle of influence that you have? That's when what we call OPS, other people's stages, come in.
Okay.
That's when I say, okay, I can speak. I've spoken in my kitchen, in my, shower, and in my maybe Facebook Live, even I have 2 people following me. I'm ready to step into other people's audiences.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really where I focus when I launched the agency for myself. Because I didn't have a big audience, and I had done lives and I had exhausted that space. I believe that the entrepreneur goes through a journey of growth, and that journey of growth is aligned with the journey of the growth of your influence. When I say influence, I'm not really talking about an influencer. I'm talking about, think of it as a radius of, like, if you are an atomic bomb, how far are you reaching, right? Hopefully you're an impact bomb. But as an entrepreneur, we tend to find a place, maybe in the first year, 2 years, 3 years, depends, how fast you move, that you exhaust your circle of influence.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you need to tap into other people's stages, which is what I started doing in 2017 and continue to do. And so what does that mean is like, okay, no, you're not going to go and strive to be the keynote speaker for the national conference in your industry. Chances are it's just a very hard climb. It's like you don't go, if you've never hiked, you don't go straight to the top of the Everest. You just don't.
Yeah.
You'll hurt yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll hurt your ego, and you hurt your chances, and you hurt your network. Like you'll hurt yourself. And so what do? Well, you find stages or opportunities that you feel confident you can land. And it could be through someone it could be through what we call a champion. And you knock on the door and say, hey, I've heard, let's say it's you and your podcast, and say, hey, I've been following your podcast. I really enjoy it. I know this and that person, or I'm aligning with this or that episode. And this is what I would like to bring to your audience. And that's how you begin knocking on doors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, I love the analogy, and I love the picture, because again, I feel like this is such a daunting task sometimes, and we build it up in our head, like there's no way this can happen, but you're just making it so simple, like, just knock on the door. And
I'm not a speaker. I'm a girl who goes in and shares my message.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. What are some of the successes that you've had? What, like, before you started doing this in 2017, did you want to, you obviously, you were trying to get clients, right? And, you were doing what you could, and apparently you talked on a few different stages. What does it look like now, 4 or 5 years later, after you started doing all of this, where you started and where you are now today, after you've spoken on some of these stages?
Yeah. And so the first year I was like, I just want to speak. I'm not going to be picky. I want to speak to my ideal audience. Don't put me in a room of vets unless they have a business, because then I can help them. But I'm not gonna, And so I wasn't picky the first year. And some of the success and the results I had were things like, and now they're friends. These 2 women partners out of Australia. heard me on a podcast. They took action. They was like, oh, come visit my website, whatever. They sent an email. We heard you in this podcast. We would love to connect, hopped on a call and enrolled in my, at the time, highest ticket offer, which was a $20,000 program. I mean, that's a huge ROI for 30 minutes in my office.
Sure.
And it was like consultation, purchase. They worked with me for 2 years. So there's you could even say that's $40,000.
Yeah.
And I helped them get to 7 figures, and now they're flying and we're good friends. So that was a clear success story, if you want, of those efforts. And there are many like those. In my journey, it's interesting how it turned out, because I really set out to put myself on stages, and I did my work. And like every time I would go on a stage, or after I went on a stage, I would say in social media, hey, I just hang out with Matt, or I just did this. And so what happened was that my clients and people who followed me said, hey, you're everywhere. What are you doing? Who are you working with that's getting you on stage? I said, well, no, nobody really. We have created, I've solved my own problem, my company. And they're like, okay, can you help me? It was not my intention. Like that wasn't my plan. I had a product suite, and I was selling something specific. It wasn't my intention to sell that. And I said, okay, let's try it. And I was very shy about it. Not shy in a shy, like I was very careful about it, meaning like, well, I'm not going to send this out to the public. I'm not going to go and sell it openly. But if someone asks, I'll have a conversation and see what we can do. So I was in 2018, 2019, I was starting to do that. And, one of those serendipities, someone reached out. He knew I was doing this because he had inside information, because his team was my support team in my software. That's the only reason he knew. And he said, well, I see you're doing this. And I did this workshop with this company where they teach me how to get on stages, but I'm a quick starter. I'm not going to do it. And my team is too busy to take it on. Can you do it for me? Oh, and by the way, you should talk to this guy and meet this guy, because I think all of his clients could benefit from you. And that's how I met Pete. And so that's how we connected, and we started creating what became the Stage Agency, and now is the 10X Stages Agency.
Yeah. And the 10X Stages, go ahead and explain what that means.
Yeah. So we partnered with Grant Cardone in 2022. So we changed brands, and we're now under the brands. If you know Grant Cardone's company, they have different brands all around the concept of 10X, meaning 10Xing whatever. So 10X Health and 10X Business and 10X Stages in this case. And so we are under that brand, and we're partnering, and we're serving his community. And we've actually created a suite of products under the 10X Stages brand. So we have a workshop where people can come and learn, kind of a lot of what I'm sharing, but learn the power of a good signature talk and the power of OPS, other people's stages. And it's a 2-day workshop that really, we've been having such great reviews. It is powerful. You get scripts. It's really a great opportunity to get exposed to this. And then, many of our clients move on and work with us more of on a focused way on writing the signature talk. And we have a team around that and a process that is proven, and we've used it for many years. We've worked with very big speakers. And then we have the products on getting you on stages. And one of the cool things about that is what we've created is we have a process that we've been using for years, but we now created a software, an application that has in it all of the best practices, from scripts to copy that we use to templates to processes, has all the best practices to going from reaching out, like a cold reach out to a stage, to closing the stage. And so now we get to offer 2 products. We have an agency where you say to me, oh, Dolores, I don't have time to do any of this. I want you to get me on stages. So we have that service, and it's not for everybody. I want to say, you got to be a business. You have to have a product. You have to have sold that product before and know that you can perform on a stage. because for us to take on a brand new product or business hasn't been proven and put them on stage, it's risky.
Yeah.
And so we have that. And then we recognize that not everybody is eligible for that agency. So we have a product called what we call Stages on Demand, which is a perfect product for that startup speaker with which we don't mind startup speakers with proven businesses. That's what the agency does. But a startup speaker with a startup business, or you might be a seasoned business owner, but you have a startup new product you're launching, because a lot of things that need to be tested. And so what we have created is what we call Stages on Demand, where we will set up your, what we call the machine, the software, but you will operate it instead of having an agent operating it.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So someone who is thinking about this path, what does that startup stage look like? Is it all virtual? Are you actually booking like local stages? You know, what's that format look like?
Yeah, we customize the strategy. We begin with what we call stage strategy. So we get to know your business. We really understand who you want to talk to, why you want to talk to them, and what will happen from stage. Like, are you ready to make an offer, or can you lead? Like, what are there's a lot of elements your business needs to have to make the most of your time off stage. And you call them elements or tools. You got to have a landing page or a checkout page, or all those things. And so once we get to know your business, we have placed speakers on digital, what we call digital pre-recorded, like a podcast, digital live, which is, and as far as conversion, we have a range of what converts the best. And so we go all the way to keynote speakers, and some of our clients paid. So we have some big names that we represent. And so some of our speakers will speak for a fee. It's not the model that it's not for everybody. And we also advocate that you can get paid, let's say you get paid $20,000 to speak, and you would think, oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, but what would you say if I say, well, that's wonderful, but you could be getting paid $200,000 for the same amount of time? And so, okay, wait, how do I do that? And that is the gift of speaking for free or a low fee, so that you have the freedom to do what is best for your business from the stage. So what does that mean? Depending on the context, depending on the stage, you can sell from stage. And so you could get paid 20 grand and not offer anything, or you can not get paid, offer your product, and walk away with $200,000 in business.
Yeah.
So there's a strategy for everybody, and that's what we design.
Okay. And if you haven't ever sold anything from the stage, I assume that you have templates or the help on how to be able to position that and actually go through that process to be able to sell. Yes.
Yeah. So all of our clients go through a signature talk workshop first, and we teach them how to sell from stage. Now, again, depending on the stage and depending on the speaker, my suggestion always is to not sell from stage. And there's exceptions, but in general, especially in a podcast or a virtual opportunity or in a community that they really don't know you, I always say lead collect, basically give a free gift and have people take on the opportunity, and then get on the phone and call those people, and then sell one-on-one on consultations. It really depends, again, on the speaker, how seasoned they are. I would never ask someone who has never sold from stage to sell from stage, because you're now asking them to do two things that they've never done consistently. They've never spoken consistently, and they've never sold from stage. And so that is a recipe for disaster. So I would say, let's get on stages and serve your audience, give them value, and offer something for free that will allow them to go deeper in getting to know you. And the conversion there is much higher, which means if you have 100 people in the room, you'll likely get, if it's a good free something,
Mhm.
you get 80 or 90 people to say, yeah, sure, I'll take your free gift. Now you have 90 people to build a relationship with, who eventually, not everybody, but the right ones will become your clients.
Yeah.
And you
yeah.
can, and you're buying time to build the trust, to build the relationship, to turn those leads into clients.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. And I would imagine too, you're also connecting with the right type of people as well.
Yes.
People that are going to identify with you rather than, trying to sell from the stage and you get some guy that you absolutely hate dealing with,
Yes.
buying right away, that you're going to be able to have the opportunity to be able to connect with everyone and make sure that you do get along so you don't rip your hair out with that relationship later on. Do you have any suggestions on what types of topics or I guess maybe verticals maybe that seem to work best from stage, or is it pretty well agnostic? You just get the right type of people together and you can pretty well, do anything?
Yeah. I mean, in 2022, where we've learned a lot of lessons, where we've gone, just a little bit of my background. I graduated from university a long time ago in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
And my graduating thesis was in Argentina in 1996, marketing on the internet, relationship marketing.
Interesting.
So I've been in the digital internet marketing space since 1996. And I think you'll agree that in the last 10 years, from 2010, 2012 to today, we have gone heavy in digital marketing and looking to use Facebook ads or Google ads or whatever. And it has paid really well until 2021. I mean, I think 2020, and when we all got locked in, it even there was it went up.
Yeah.
I think ads were generating leads and ROI. And I think there's something happened in 2021, and I'm clear what happened, and it all went crashing down, the digital marketing. Because I think 2020, 2021 was a moment in time where many of us stopped and reconnected with our human side.
Mm-hmm.
And almost went down to, is like, what do I care about? And what is important to me? And who do I trust? And there's no better way to build trust than experiencing a human. So you and I have this conversation, and you can tell I'm pretty non-scripted. Like I don't even know what a script is. Like, so chances are anybody listening to this will probably enjoy this conversation. The other will hate it or love it. Both of them I'm fine with. In the sense that whether you hate or love it is a reaction you have to an experience you're having that you feel is authentic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so whoever is listening to this and they're curious about what we do, they're probably going to follow our lead and check us out. That means that probably is a faster path to getting someone to click on something that we can offer than if I were to do this on my own in a Facebook ad video.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so to answer your question, I know it was way around answering your question, is that the most unlike industry is starting to realize that they could use stages to grow their business. It's just an interesting moment in time where we are back to where we came from, which is humans talking to humans in rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And that in the 1700s, 1800s, whether you had an oil company, a train station, or a hair product, you just had to talk to people about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. And I'm wondering how many people have picked up on that. Like the people that are still pumping so much money into the digital marketing side of things. I completely agree. I agree.
So
like
it's a tandem. So digital marketing works, but it doesn't necessarily work as a first step.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that I'm not that I'm being clear. I think so. From the beginning of my journey with digital marketing, I believe that the technology was going to allow us to scale our human relations.
Mhm.
But what happened between 2010 and 2012 and 2022 or 2021 is that it was such a new toy that the human relationship part kind of wasn't really needed. It was working without it.
Mhm.
It was working in a very robotic way. And so we've come to a point where I need to know who you are. Then you can Facebook ad me to reinforce.
Yeah.
And chances are that ad will perform really well.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. It's
But
all about building
it's a marriage. It's not one or the other.
Yep. And I would imagine that, there's still people that are coming into the funnel, through the digital side of things, and they see your presentation, they see you on stage, they, see your recording of yourself being on stage. And then, that's where that real connection, finally happens. And then, all of it's, again, just repetition. I forget. I actually, I don't know if you know who Manda Holmes is, but her father was Chet Holmes, who wrote Ultimate Sales Machine. We actually just presented with her a couple of weeks ago, and she basically made the correlation. I want to say, I think she said it was like 40 times what like 10 years ago we didn't need to have that many touches in order to be able to say, yeah, this is something that I want, convert to a buyer. Basically, I want to say it was like maybe 10 at the time. It's like literally like 4x over the course of the last couple of years.
And I would love to talk to her if you want to do an intro, because I suspect that 40 times, if you put in the middle, whether it's at the front and the middle, if you put in the middle a moment where that potential lead experiences the product or the persona, either on a live stage or on a recorded stage, chances are, and I would be really curious to do a research on this, of can we go back to 10 if one of those touches is a speaking experience?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Again, getting that face-to-face, connection. Yeah. No, love it. Love it. What are some of the things that you would say that you would suggest people not do when they're, going down this path? Let's say that they, what some of the common mistakes or problems that they run into that, again, hurt them.
Don't be a diva. don't speaker is another way of marketing, and don't get too picky too soon, because you don't know what you don't know. So you might think you know where you want to speak, but you don't really know. At first, when I started speaking, my team said, let's do podcasts. I was like, sure. I mean, I said yes, because it's easy for me. Like, it doesn't, I don't get stressed. I love talking to people. I love good conversations. There's always something to learn. So it wasn't hard, but I wasn't sure if they were going to do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said yes, because I knew I was not in a place of enough knowledge to say no. And lo and behold, they converted, and some of them converted for clients, but some of them converted in relations that led me to bigger opportunities, partnerships, or stages. So don't be linear, don't be a diva, be creative and open, and just be aware that the opportunity might not be, like, your client might not be the audience. Like in this case, your audience might not be my client, but your audience might be my connector to someone or to something. So it's just about visibility, consistent visibility, and always, by all means, whatever you do, don't do anything if you're not going to add value.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not selling. I mean, I don't really believe in selling in the sense of, you're going to work with me if the journey that we go through together to the point of that offer makes sense to both of us. And so don't get hung up in what you're going to get out of every stage, but focus on what you're going to give on every stage, and it will pay over time.
Yeah. Do you have any stats that state like how often you should be doing this? I mean, obviously I'm sure the answer is as often as possible, but like, is there something that says, you should be doing a live presentation on a stage where maybe somebody else is able to film you, once a month, or, are there any type of, statistics?
So I can't give you a stats. The more the merrier, like the more often the better. Because really there's so many layers and variables. It's like, how well do you convert? Like if you go to a live stage with 100 people and you walk away with 50 or 90 clients, make sure you have capacity. So maybe do those once every 3 months. Like it really comes down to your conversion from these opportunities. But then you have a problem, but it's a different problem. You don't have a client problem, but you have a maybe fulfillment problem. So it's when you're getting started, I would say as often as possible, and please get on podcasts, because what podcasts do, they might not get you a client, but they'll get you visibility, branding, and they'll get your social media kind of really working for you. So there was a point and know yourself. Like to be honest, I got tired. I mean, I think this is the second podcast I've done this year.
Wow.
This year I've kind of slowed down simply because I have so much work on this side. But 2017, 2018, 2019, I remember a month I was doing 3 podcasts a week.
Yeah.
So if you type Dolores Hirschmann, I think there's a lot of podcasts that are going to come out of that. I had in the hundreds. But know yourself and the phase, the moment in your business. And so just don't get overwhelmed by it. But if you're getting started, go full force.
Yeah, no, I love that. Love that. And would you suggest that anybody create their own podcast as well as?
I mean, I have my own, and I have it a little forgotten right now, but it is a strategy, but it's not a needed strategy. Like more is more in that is not more in that sense. Like here's what I want to say really, Matt. There's this pressure on entrepreneurs to do so much. And really what I want people to hear is do one thing really well and focus on it. And then down the road, if you have that nailed down and you have a consistent flow of stages, or you're slowing down because you're doing so well and you love talking to people, by all means. But what I don't want people to hear is that you have to do this and this and this and this. I said, no, if you want to focus on stages, go to stages, make sure you can lead collect, and make sure you can get on the phone with these people. Because going on stage without collecting leads or selling from stage is a waste of time, by the way.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. This is really, really great. Dolores, if people want to learn more about you, your products, your services, what would be the best way to reach out and get in touch?
Yeah, I think, no, I don't think I know. Like, yeah, come to 10xstages.com. So 10, number 10, xstages.com, and talk to one of our strategists. They'll help you figure out your stage strategy. And, you can follow me on social, Dolores Hirschmann on Instagram and LinkedIn and everywhere.
Love it. Love it. Dolores, thank you so much for the tips on how to get on stages, and loved learning about your path too. I mean, just the evolution, and obviously connecting with Grant Cardone. Congrats there. I mean, that's a huge step. So, which actually we didn't even get into that. How did you meet Grant Cardone and create that, that synergy?
So I started a partnership with Pete Vargas from Advance Your Reach, and it's Pete who brought the agency, and Grant learned about the agency and was very excited about what we're doing, and so that's how it came about.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, he's definitely a force. He's out there all over the place, and talk about stages. He's pretty well mastered all of them, I would say.
Yes.
So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no, love it. Dolores, thank you for the tips. And we will certainly look forward to learning more about, presenting from stages and just getting our names and our voices and our movements out there. So love it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt, for having me.